Am I the asshole for banishing the affair baby to my dungeon? I, 41 female, have been with my husband, 43 male, for over 2 decades, and we have 3 daughters together, 18F, 14F, 12F. Recently, I discovered that my husband had a one-night stand 17 years ago when his daughter, 17 female, revealed herself. Her mother had died, and she needed somewhere to stay. Initially, this caused great devastation for our marriage. But after an exhaustive discussion, we agreed to move past it and offer help to a young girl who had no one else. Our house has 4 bedrooms, 1 for us and 1 for each of our children. My oldest daughter is currently at college, and her room is unoccupied. My stepdaughter suggested that she take over that room, but I refused her request, saying that the room belonged to my daughter, and she couldn't just take it as she pleased. We have a small basement with exposed stone walls and stone floors, lit by an incandescent light bulb and artificial candles to give it a cozy vibe. We were using it as a den, but we were willing to change it into a bedroom just for her. My stepdaughter is extremely distraught over the thought of sleeping in the basement. She says she is claustrophobic due to her childhood experiences, and she would have panic attacks if she slept down there. She said she felt like was punishing her for the circumstances of her birth, and referred to my basement as a dungeon, acting like I was some stereotypical evil stepmother. I calmly explained that it was my dungeon, my rules, and that she was a guest in my house, so she would sleep where I told her to or leave. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. As you said, the room she wanted was already taken, and considering she's a virtual stranger, she should be grateful you let her stay at all. BTW, has your husband done a paternity test to be sure she's even his and not just some scammer? You're the asshole. She was a guest in my house? No, she now lives there. If you weren't prepared for that, you should not have agreed to this. She communicated this issue, and you absolutely went the evil stepmother route. You're the asshole. You are dealing with a grieving, claustrophobic teenage girl. She is not going to be a momentary guest in your life for you to kick out when you please. Your husband is the only family she has left. You don't have to give her your oldest daughter's bedroom, but you can't be threatening to kick her out. If it doesn't offend your oldest daughter, you should probably give her the room, though. 18F has left the nest. She can stay in the den when she is home for vacation. When my older sister left for college, I immediately moved into her room. Since this is your first child going off to college, you can set this as the standard that people don't need to keep their room when they move away. On a separate note, what the hell does your husband think of all of this? It is his daughter. Why is he not mediating this situation? Am I the asshole for spending all weekend drinking with my friends instead of being with my sober BF? I, 23 female, and my BF, 25 male, have been together for a few years now. We both used to be in active addiction together until I decided to quit drugs. I still drink, but I'm a lot more responsible than I used to be. My BF didn't decide to quit until last November, where he went to rehab and is now living a completely sober lifestyle. This is great for him, but anytime I go out to my friends to a bar, he gets angry with me and starts a huge fight the day after, every time. I'm used to it at this point, knowing his reaction, and I expect it every time I meet my friends. But this weekend, I ended up spending 3-ish days with them. The first day I met my friends for drinks and went home because I had work the next day. The second day I met my dad and uncle at a bar to discuss an up-and-coming funeral after the death of my aunt. I was meant to see my BF that night, but he was being really rude to me on the phone, out of nowhere, before I decided I would drink, and decided not to see him. I met my friends that night and drank again, and I stayed with them till yesterday, where we played some pool and got food with a few drinks. I never do this, and my BF said he's disgusted by me and is refusing to talk to me. I don't want to fight with him, and I can see his point, but I really don't feel like I deserve it. No assholes here, but it's obvious that you and him are on completely different life tracks, and I think you two need to sit down and have a serious talk. No bad people here, but you both clearly want very different things out of life. You can have your BF or your current lifestyle. Same goes for him. I can't see any realistic possibility of compromise. Like I said, no assholes here, but the two of you are no longer compatible, and it's probably best for everyone if you two look for different partners. You're the asshole. Are you really sure your relationship with alcohol is actually managed? 3 days in a row, even casually for a person recovering from a habitual use problem, sounds pretty risky. I think your BF is concerned you'll relapse or move to a new addiction, and based off the post, rightfully so. I'd guess this relationship won't last if he is taking his sobriety seriously, as he will not want it in his life in any capacity. He's not concerned about me. He's told me in the past he's jealous that I'm able to have a social life with drink, and he can't. And I never ever do this. I may have a few drinks like every couple of weeks, but not to this extent. Am I the asshole for wanting my daughter to drop out of her nursing course? I 25 me's and a single dad to a 16F adopted daughter, who I will be calling Izzy. Izzy has struggled with mental health issues since she was a child. This made her a target for bullying, not only from other students, but teacher as well. Izzy, who was once a very bright and clever girl, started skipping school and failing classes. At one point, she was even doing drugs and sleeping with older boys. The school principal thought it would be best for Izzy to stop attending school and study at TAFE instead. After months of interviews and consults, Izzy was finally enrolled in a nursing course for 3 days a week. Izzy really enjoys the course and also seems to be getting better mental health-wise. But not long after starting the course, Izzy's behavior at home started to get beyond bearable. Yelling at everyone over minor things, being very mean and aggressive towards her 2-year-old younger brothers, refusing to clean up after herself, and just being rude most of the time. I don't want to be around her. She is being selfish and mean towards everyone. I was getting concerned about her behavior, so I spoke to her TAFE teacher, and apparently, she's a delightful kid in class. I have had enough, I told the teacher. Izzy wouldn't be in for the week, and left. I went home and told Izzy she had a week to prove she deserves to go to TAFE. And if she can't behave this week, she will be going back to school. My family is saying, I'm being harsh, and I'm taking away a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that could cost Izzy her future. But I think she needs to learn how to treat people with kindness and respect before she should be worrying about her future. She is only 16 and still has 2 years left of high school and then could reapply for the course. So am I the asshole? You're the asshole. Withholding education is a stupid punishment. Yes, her behavior needs to be dealt with, but taking her away from an educational environment in which she thrives is so completely asinine and short-sighted. You start going to family therapy, you restrict her out-of-class time. You're the asshole. Taking away education as a punishment seems very counterproductive. Your daughter needs structure, and you're taking it away from her. Soft? I would say everyone to the a-hole, but your kid is 16 and has a mental illness. I can tell you from personal experience that when I was her age and super depressed, I only had enough energy to act not depressed at home or at school. At first it was at school because I have eyes. That seemed more important. But once my parents came down on me about how I wasn't chipper enough for them, my energy became being the good kid at home, and my school suffered. I was never super unkind to people the way that you're explaining, but I'm wondering if that's something that's happening with your kiddo. Get her into some therapy and treatment if she's not already. You might even consider some family therapy if that's available, as it seems like there might be a connection of how much stress she is under, how that affects other things in her life, and how she treats other people. Regardless of what happens now, that's an important lesson for her to learn skills on. Info. Is she seeing a therapist? Also, have you given her consequences for her actions before resorting to the nuclear option? Am I the asshole for calling my friend a hypocrite when she pretty much insinuated I was using my boyfriend? Okay, so for some background, my friend Kay and I, both 30F, have been best friends since high school. We're both resident doctors. Kay comes from money I don't. My boyfriend, 30 male, who I have been with for just under 4 years, earns significantly more than I do now, low 7 figures to my 55K, non-US. We also live in a famously high-cost city, and I can't financially contribute as much as I'd like. When we go on expensive trips or pricey restaurants, he will usually pick up the tab. I spend weekends, and what little time I have at his place rent-free. He outright owns his place. And due to my job, I'm moving a lot and can't afford to double rent. I also buy groceries for our place and have to pay for a lot for my widower father who's on a small pension and struggling with bills because of inflation. I could, in theory, contribute more, but it would completely empty out my rainy day/emergency fund, and I'd rather go without if my choice was to pay for them myself or not go. My boyfriend is aware of this, happy to pay. His argument is that he wants me there with him and wouldn't want to go without me anyway. So he's happy to pay. He also nixed my suggestions of budget/cheaper places. I know this for a fact because our income inequality is a source of significant insecurity for me, which has led to some fights. So all I can say is, this is a well-trod road between the two of us, and he's comfortable with it, and so am I. Kay is not, every time I mention a date night we had, or any activity, event, trip we have been on, she'll make snide remarks about how I'm spoiled. When Kay got into med school, her father bought an apartment so she didn't have to stay in student digs. When she got her residency, her father bought her a new BMW. When Kay wanted to buy a house, her father gave her $1.5 million. She doesn't pay her own health or car insurance, has never paid rent. Her money is fun money. She uses to buy designer bags and clothes, and yet criticizes me for being so frugal and not treating myself. Not seeming to understand that just because we have the same salary doesn't mean we have the same money. Last week, we were planning a small trip that I have had to save for months. She wistfully looked at a 5-star hotel, knowing it was way out of my budget. I mentioned that I'd stayed in their branch in Morocco with my boyfriend, and she laughed when I said I didn't know how much it cost. Of course you don't, because you never pay for anything, do you? She then went on to insinuate that I'm embarrassing being so financially dependent on a man. I got pissed and told her that's rich, seeing as her daddy pays for everything. She got flustered and said, "That's different." Now my friends are calling me an AH and telling me I need to apologize to her. I feel like maybe I crossed a line. But then again, I'm afraid if I apologize, that will just give her the validation she needs to constantly mock me and my relationship. Typos. Second edit, I should elaborate because people are going to point it out. My friends aren't saying I'm in the wrong, more that I need to be the bigger person for the sake of the friendship/friend group. I'm the more passive and accommodating of the two of us, so I'm usually the one to fold or go along with what other people want. So I suspect that this is why I'm being pressured to apologize. These people aren't your friends. Do yourself a big favor and ditch all of them. Your edit says everything about how they see and value you, which is they don't. Go live your best life with your boyfriend and leave middle school friendships behind. Everyone sucks here. You're being judgmental of each other, and lowering yourselves to snide comments and clapbacks doesn't make it better. She's envious of your position and trying to make herself feel better, forgetting she also gets financial support. You were absolutely correct in her hypocrisy. She's an don't have a thing, so I'm going to belittle those who do person. But you're being smart, not tapping yourself. Your boyfriend is aware of your position, you haven't hid it from him, and it seems like he's the one offering. That doesn't indicate an intention to use someone. Ending up with a well-off person doesn't mean the relationship is all about monetary value, despite what your friend seems to think. After all, if you spend your rainy day fund and you and your boyfriend end up breaking up in the future, you'd be in real trouble. I mean, hopefully you're good together, but, hope for the best, plan for the worst. You may have just grown out of this friendship. If she'd rather be snappy and bitter about your fortunate luck in happening to be with someone well off instead of happy for you, is that a person you want in your life? Your edit. It doesn't matter if you're usually passive or if this is your first offense. Anytime we lower ourselves to a snappy comeback, as opposed to reasonably laying out a counter-argument or telling the person why they crossed a line, we're an AH. Regardless of how much bigger an AH the other person is, we are both willing participants in the AH Olympics. That's true for any of us, regardless of justification. Time to lose, Kay. Just because you have known her for a long time doesn't mean you have grown the same. Not the asshole. If talking about money is an issue, try not to bring it up in conversation. If she brings it up, steer the topic away to something else. If she continues to bring it up, then she's obviously got beef about it, and you should consider whether your friendship with her is worth the hassle. Everyone sucks here. I find it interesting that your friends are telling you that you're in the wrong, and it makes me believe that her story would be a lot different than yours. Well, that's another episode of Am I the Asshole in the books. I really appreciate all of you who made it this far into the video. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, it would really help the channel out a lot if you gave the video a thumbs up, subscribe, or leave a comment down below. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.